Hey everybody, how's it going? I honestly hope you have all been well. I know that it's trying times, I know that there's lots of ups and downs, and I know that there's a lot going on. I will talk in another episode about why I chose the course that I did, which was to remain pretty quiet for a while, as well as go through my own processing and healing, as that's what these energies, these last couple of years have been all about. It's very much shaking things up. It's very much about us taking it slow. And I actually noticed how many people I know, lives have changed in both ways, because good and bad, that's up to you. It's a choice of experience. So the point of this video today is I'm actually sharing with you here a video that I'm actually making for somebody who, thank you very much, Dan, has been following me for many years. And he had asked me, I think it's been a couple years ago now, about how to heal his pain body. Now, for me, I wanted to make this video right away to share with him, but at the same time, I'm someone who listens to my guides, my inner knowing, my intuition, and my higher self, all those kinds of things. And for me, I was basically told that it wasn't time yet, and I understand more now why. So in this episode, just know that I'm going to be talking pretty much my standard, which is I'm just going to keep talking, and some things that you may or may not understand, that's up to you to search them up, find them out, or for you to follow along with my episodes that I have previously, and I'll link my playlist down there, or also what I'll be talking about continuously, because it's all the same fluid thing. So here, the reason why I want to share this now is because what we're going through with the solar flares and where the celestial bodies are and the gateways of energy and how they're hitting us now on Earth, but as humans, right now more than ever, the energy is not lying. Like, it's very truthful energy. It's very much when you decide, it's going to happen very quickly. There's no more blocks or things that kind of get in the way. It's pretty much what you think will happen. So what I want to share here is my tips and advice on how to help the pain body. So Dan, with me talking here, I'm going to I don't like assuming, but I'm going to assume that you even understand what the pain body is. So I'll just give a quick explanation for some people who might not even know what we're talking about here. So first of all, we have more than just our physical body vessel that you can see right here that you're listening to talk, that physically I'm touching. We also have what we call an emotional body, which we cannot deny that we all have emotions. Some people you can go on the extreme of psychopath or sociopath, but at the same time, I personally, in what I do believe that is on a spectrum of super sensitive people to the point where you feel and seem like you don't have emotions, but I do believe as we heal that those things would be a different experience personally. So what I'm trying to say is that we all have emotions, mental body, as well as spiritual body. So we have 4 if you want to break it down into those ways, and from there we have more. My point being is though that personally for me, what you're considering the pain body, I personally consider layers within the emotional, mental, as well as physical, as well as spiritual, that are all affected. And from there you can target, if you will, parts of yourself. So with the emotional and pain body, you can find books or graphs or charts from numerous different people in their retrospective fields about how they outline the breakdown of the bodies. For me, while I take pretty much everything as guidelines, and as much as I appreciate each master in their field, I personally am very much someone that, while I appreciate those things, I try to see how I am about it, because I believe in past lives. And because I believe in past lives, I don't believe that we are here ever from zero knowing. I believe that we're here to remember our knowing, our past lives, our past talents, all of that stuff that incarnating into this life, we either can remember, can draw off of, or not. It's up to you. So my point being is that I do believe that some of that pain and trauma sometimes comes through from our past lives into this life as our karma, as what we chose as a soul, as what we wanted to go through, and then how we deal with that in this physical life to let go of that karma, learn whatever, dharma or anything that we're here, that our soul wishes to learn from or raise or forgive or whatever it is ending up to be your soul story. So I personally believe that because everything is energy, everything reacts and acts with the energies and properties of energy. So personally for me, once you understand energy language, which is why I didn't want to do this video until after I had done a sequence of other videos, is because I do personally believe understanding in some ways, even if it's just the basic stuff about energy language, is very self-pertaining to how you're going to help change everything that is happening, going on within you. Now, what I'm talking about here with the pain body is very much going to be the same visuals that I would use for anything. So when I say that, I don't mean that you have to just focus here on the pain body, but if that's what your intention is, it would definitely help. So I personally do suggest knowing some bits of meditation. Whether you actually meditate or not, it's up to you, and what you think about meditation, that's completely up to you. I personally believe that we have many ways of meditating. I believe that when we're doing something that we love, any task, a sport, cooking, cleaning, something that just puts you in this state. And a lot of people, because of what we've been conditioned to believe as well, believe that meditating is like you can't think of anything. I personally believe there's many stages to meditation, and I do believe that thinking about those thoughts and sometimes letting them pass through, but sometimes also going through those thoughts is a good thing. In this one, I'm going to suggest that at first, what comes up, pay attention in the ways where you know what's coming through, but at the same time, let it go. If it's not something that you know how to fully deal with, it's okay to let it go. So what I mean by letting go is that we don't have to necessarily give it energy focus at this moment to deal with that particular thought or feeling at that moment, unless you feel in that moment deep down from your intuition, your gut, or just some interesting feeling that won't let you get past it. Sometimes it's good to just ask, what is it here for? Asking your thoughts, why are you here? What is it that I can learn from you? What are you trying to say to me? And then listening. So that's another thing too, that normally I would talk about this in more depth, which I'll do another time, but it's basically listening to yourself, to where your voices are speaking to you from. Are they speaking to you from certain parts of your body? Are they speaking to you from your mind, from the front, from the back, from the sides? Is it speaking to you from your heart, from your gut, from your arm, your shoulder, your back? Where is it you're feeling these things? And as you're noticing where you're feeling the voices, you can also compare it to one of the graphs or charts that you also feel intuitively led to about the emotional or mental body, and see if where you're feeling that voice, if it pertains to what you're actually feeling, the breakdown of what it says, that where you're feeling it, if it tells you where the emotional or mental is actually deep rooted from. And those can be helpful to you in the ways where, and that's why I'm very thankful for all the masters and teachers that have been around building for these times now, is because there's so much information out there to help people when they're seeking these answers now. But they've been literally trying to give us these answers for well over 100 years for sure, but that's a whole other episode. Point being is that try to listen to your voice. What we're trying to get you to do is build a bigger amount of trust with you listening to yourself. We're trying to build up yourself and inner wisdom and trust to know what your body, what yourself is trying to tell yourself, and what you may not recognize that you are either listening to or not listening to. And if I'm honest with you, most of us are not listening to ourselves because we have been raised to not listen to ourselves. We have actually been raised to not trust ourselves, and we've been raised to seek outside of ourselves for everything, when in truth, everything that we've ever needed for anything is all within ourselves. And one day, if someone wants to talk about that, about other things, we can talk about it more, is because when we are connected to ourselves, everything is just attracted to us. Instead of when we're seeking outside of ourselves, we're chasing everything, chasing what we think we need, instead of knowing ourselves and being like, this is what I need, and it just shows up. And there's no longer, we're not chasing energy anymore. It's just coming to us. Okay, so there's a big difference in experience there. Another thing I wanted to say is I do think that going through all of this, that it's very helpful for us to tap into our imagination. Do you remember that word when we were young? And, you know, we're told that imagination is for when you're young and you have imaginary friends and imaginary this and, oh, that's just your imagination, etc. On one hand, that's actually a good thing to cultivate. And I don't want you to think that, oh, I haven't used my imagination in years, it must be gone. I'm sorry, it's not gone. Imagination is just a part of us. It's like anything else that we go through in life. It's something, if we utilize and get better at, it's faster. Whereas if we just don't pay attention to it, we think we can't do it right now. Can't, because we can do whatever we want. But my point being is that it might just take some extra effort or energy focus on your behalf for it to flow more easily. And that's generally what happens with everything I find in most learning, besides if you find out that you're naturally talented at something, which I find is from past lives again. But for me, it's good ways for you to recognize, on one hand, what comes through as natural talents from past lives, and what for you, you're just reminding yourself to remember, or if you're actually learning something new, which is actually really cool. Because when I think about it from a past life standpoint, a lot of the things that you think about learning anew, there's not much, but you can experience a unique situation of it. So when you actually learn something new, as your first experience of all lives, I think that's a pretty cool concept. All right, so meditation definition. Oh yes, so imagination, why I find it's important is because I do believe that there's so many different types of people here. We have people that can visualize, we have auditory, we have touch, we have feeling, we have, if you want to think about all the clair, like clairsentient, clairaudient, clairvoyance, there's, I think, 5 or 6 different clairs. My point is that while we have our 5, 6 senses, depending what you want to believe, we also then have all the ethereal senses around us. And sometimes it's hard to fully believe, depending what you decide you want to give power to of what you believe. Because if you believe that we literally are just this meat, we're just meat, and we just have a brain, and we're just here eating, drinking, and working, and that's our life, and then have a family, well, then to you, that's as far as you want to take life. What I think is amazing about life, though, is that there's literally infinite amount of possibilities of what exists to be true. And when you start understanding how vast infinite is, and what that means that is possible for humans, that we aren't just meat, that we literally have different layers of energetic bodies, and this is proven by the different light, like ultraviolet light and blue light, red light, green light, yellow light, purple light, all of those kinds of, and into I did ultraviolet into infrared, I guess ultraviolet, infrared, yes. My point being is that it already proves to you that there's colors that even our human eyes can't see. And while we were growing up and not recognizing that what we see visually in light spectrum and then what we hear in sound spectrum is actually parts of energy vibration. And the fact that we have a heartbeat, and the fact that the earth has its own resonance, Schumann resonance, and the fact that each organ has its resonance, and the fact that each emotion has a resonance, and how music speaks to us, and how it literally changes how we are and how we operate. It kind of starts making you recognize that maybe while we separate light with sound and ourselves, that what if we were all actually the same, and the truth is we are. All of that is just energy being read. So we are actually energy as well. So when we start understanding that energy with light rays and energy with sound waves sort of behave similar in the wave pattern, and we start recognizing that life itself actually works in wave pattern, same with the seasons, same with the earth, same with pretty much anything that exists, you can see the pattern, the life of a tree, the life of animals, ourselves, like every single thing, you can start to see this pattern. And then you start understanding that we are, everything existing here on earth and beyond, all actually have a similar pulse. We all have this pulse where we come into ourselves and then we expand out of ourselves, and we come back in and we expand. And then understanding that the very cells that we are made up of themselves are having this kind of pulsing of their own frequencies. And depending if something resonates with it, it can connect to it and create a whole new thing like oxygen. It can create water and salt and every single thing existing, you know? So my point about all that is that when we break it down from the macro to micro, we start to understand that at micro level, it's all vibrations. It's vibrations vibrating in whatever way to make them, in our visual state, see the physical property of what we're being told that it is. Now, what's interesting about what we're told it is that it also depends on the energy receiving that message as to what that energy is going to be. That's a whole other topic, though. We're coming back to the pain body. My point being is that when you can start recognizing and seeing with your mind's eye or yourself just the little particles vibrating inside of us, our blood, our cells that are making up our organs, our cells that are making up our whole body all around us, it starts to make you recognize where consciousness comes into play, where unconsciousness comes into play, and where subconsciousness comes into play. We are told and taught that we are able to control certain things consciously, and that some things go into the subconscious and some things happen in the unconscious. We're also told very much about dream state, about when we're sleeping and what happens during those times. Now, for me, when I was growing up, I did realize what a difference a good sleep makes. I did realize how much richer and smoother my skin would be if I had a good sleep, and also under my eyes and just my overall mood in general. I also noticed too the difference between how I went to sleep and how I woke up, and if I woke up prepared or if I woke up shaken up. At the same time, you start noticing how you can determine that based on your own mind frame. Because when I'm waking up, if I was just like, oh man, I don't think I can wake up, I'm just too tired, most of the time I would just be like, oh, I'm too tired, and my whole day would revolve around I'm too tired. Whereas I noticed when I went to sleep and I was waking up and I was like, I'm going to have a very restful sleep, I'm going to wake up rejuvenated, and the moment that I meant to wake up, I'm going to have energy that I'm going to spring out of bed, and it's going to be a lovely morning. I literally would have that kind of morning and day. If I told myself in the morning that I was going to have a good day, I would have a good day. If I told myself at night or during the morning I was going to have a bad day, I would have a bad day. I started noticing how much my thoughts I was feeding myself was literally feeding me what I was living. So something that we also don't understand is how much our unconscious mind, subconscious mind also affect what we're experiencing. Because in those ways, it starts to come down to a lot of belief. Now, when I talk about belief, I'm literally going to take that and break it all the way down into what I would like to call intention. Because to me, at the bottom of everything, when we make a decision, I feel like there's so many like logical reasons or why, but at the bottom of it all, in our gut, I feel like we know the intention behind why we want to do something, why we feel something. A lot of times we don't like to fully admit what the true intention is because usually we're embarrassed or ashamed or feeling guilty. And lots of times we feel guilty just because we don't think we should be feeling as good as other people because other people aren't feeling that great. So I feel bad that I'm feeling good, you know? And that in itself is a whole other psychological thing that we're going to have to talk about as time keeps going here, because a lot of us are going to be experiencing quite contrasts of life happening. And I just want you to know that totally pertains to how we decide to view life. And there's no right way or wrong way. And it's literally just up to you what you want to experience. Literally what I say about everything is it's your choice of experience. So whether you want to remain ignorant to something or not, it's your choice of experience. Whether you want to go in further or not, that's your choice of experience. So a lot of people have a hard time because when you start talking like this, they start to go, well, are you trying to say that I wanted to live like this and this is what I decided because I didn't choose this? And I want to say to you, I get that in a certain perspective that you didn't choose it consciously. Okay, I get that you're not like, I want to be like this, though there are some cases that literally do want that experience because they find it's an excuse that they can use. And when I say that, what I mean is sometimes people do want to be super sick. They literally ask to be sick because they find that it excuses them from a lot of experiences because they don't feel strong enough in their self-worth to just know that within who I am, what I am, that I can just say no to this. Most people are like, I can't say no unless I'm actually not well. I can't say no unless actually this. And we start to give ourselves lots of reasons logically onto why we want to choose this experience, even though it may not be actually what you would choose if you knew you could choose anything. Okay, so that's another thing I want you to understand as well. Where we are in the world at the moment with our conditioning of what we believe society is, there are certain roles that we believe that we need to be and have to play to be good citizen and functioning part of society. When in truth, when you learn about a lot of these systems, you're going to learn that a lot of them were made to fail and to make you feel not very good and outside of yourself because they know you're more powerful and empowered within yourself. So that's a whole other topic again. But back to the imagination and meditation intention. So for me, why I wanted to bring up meditation, why I want to bring up imagination, and why I want to bring up your intention is because to me, those are the three key factors. That's funny. That's so funny what this is, because some of you might know the symbol that I don't want to do, but it's like the 666, but then there's also like the bird version of it and stuff. And then the fact that my fingers just did that, I don't know. And I never do three like this, you know, like the Inglourious Basterds movie is so funny. Point being, trust me, I try not to do symbols because I know they mean a lot of things to certain types of people running the world at the moment. But to me, I mean, I'm just a human and I watch so much stuff and we can't help but sometimes, you know, make gestures that are them. I try to not, you know, while we're talking about unconscious, subconscious, conscious, I consciously try not to, but subconsciously, unconsciously, sometimes it happens. And in truth, a lot of the symbols that they end up using is just kind of hijacked by them. They don't own the symbols, you know, and symbols usually mean both sides, and it's just up to you what the intention of the symbol is. Intention again. I'm sorry, I got off track there. I'm going to be doing a symbol episode 2, and symbology and numerology I want to do even before this one. So anyways, life, right? Okay, my point being again about meditation, imagination, and intention. So one, intention is basically the most powerful thing that you can ever wield, okay? The thing about it is that most of us don't understand what our initial intention normally is, and we usually cloud it with all these other layers of things and think that we can't have that intention. So because we already think we can't have it, we basically tell ourselves that it's not possible. But in truth, everything is possible. Even impossible is I'm possible. All right. So intention for me, it would be, and why I was trying to get you, Dan, to work through a lot of those fear things. And the thing about it is there's certain layers that take a little bit more time. And trying to figure out your fears and talk to yourself about that and how to get out of them and you know what they mean to you, it does take a bit of time and talking to yourself. So the reason why I wanted you to do that, Dan, is because I wanted you to start getting those voices that you're hearing going, so you can start hearing your patterns of your thoughts. Now, for other people that don't know what I suggested to Dan, I basically was just asking him a few questions about fear. I have a few episodes up on fear, but most of them are, you have the two choices of forget everything and run, or face everything and rise. And it very much is those kinds of things. I'm not going to talk about fear here because, like I said, I have all those few episodes about fear. I will talk about it more in other episodes. But in this one, the reason why I talk about fear is because I truly believe that we are beings of love. I believe that our first initial state is love. There is no way that you can come into being without being from a state of love. Now, what I mean by that is I'm not trying to say every parent that ever had a baby was in love and had a baby. What I'm trying to say, though, is that they do consider that action to be most miraculous from love. My point is, though, the creation of it from at the moment, man to woman. The reason why I say at the moment is because technology and science is making it very possible that you don't need that anymore. But at the time, man to woman, it needed 1, the 2 to create the 3. You needed that to become a human. And from that as well, there is a lot of what we call generational karma, generational lessons. And the reason why that's a big deal here today is because of where we come in the clock itself for like the solar calendar and the lunar calendar for themselves and where they are in their own cycles. Right now, the solar itself has just upgraded, and I don't know if you've noticed that the sun is no longer yellow and round. When I first grew up, I watched it become more white, and now I watched it become literally a smear in the sky because it's so strong that we just can't even really see it as a ball anymore. My point is that while the sun is going through this, it itself throws off more solar flares. Okay, so everything that I'm talking about in this episode and everything I ever talk about, it is all actually science-based. If you actually look up this stuff, everything that I am talking about is actually quite proven nowadays. So it'll be up to you if you want to look it up. But point being is solar flares, extra solar flares, have been hitting the Earth actually since 2012 and beyond. But since 2012 and even more ramped up, I would have to say since 2016 and more into today. And these solar flares is actually what's changing everything happening, is because the increase in solar flares. So just imagine that Earth used to get hit with solar flares once in a while, okay? And now it's getting constantly hit with solar flares, okay? So just understanding frequency and wavelength. Earth used to get hit with solar flares, bleep, okay? And that's how it would affect us. Now Earth is getting hit, bleep, 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 bleep. And that's literally what is changing and raising all frequencies of everything existing on Earth and beyond Earth. It's literally what's ever getting hit by our sun in this solar system is all raising in level. It cannot be helped. It just can't. I don't know if you've noticed that your plants have also been growing differently. Like everything is changing. If you pay attention, it's different. Okay, so with the fact that now that the sun energy is hitting us this way, I hope you understand that we are actually a part of this energy too. So it's like anything in life. You can actually use it to be your best friend, or you can have it as your worst enemy. And sometimes it's good to have your enemy as your best friend, you know, they say. But my point is that it's up to you if you use any sort of anything coming in support of you or in not support of you, or if you decide to not even be a part of it. You know, all the same decisions are always there. Personally, I believe that the sun is our friend. A lot of people on a different side don't want to believe the sun is their friend. And I get that, is because if you don't want to raise an energy, but the sun is hitting you with energy, it actually becomes detrimental to you in a way where you might not feel as good, because this is the natural energy and you're trying to remain a different energy. That's not what the overall energy is. So depending how you want to look at things, it does kind of suck, because in ways, yes, we are kind of being forced to raise if you want, or forced to experience not so great if you don't want to raise. But at the same time, we all chose to live during these times in these specific energies for a certain reason of our soul. So yes, it's going to matter if you believe in your soul or not and what you think of that. So back to the intention of this one though. So personally for me, meditation I think is best either sitting or laying down. I actually think when you're first starting out, laying down is a wonderful way, is because a lot of the things that we will be hitting are going to be deep things, and most times when you're hitting deeper than you know, we tend to fall asleep or go unconscious because a lot is happening. Another thing I want you to understand while going through these solar flares that we're going through, but as well as if you are working on yourself inside, on your energy body of emotional, mental, spiritual, whatever you're working on, physical as well, depending. I want you to know that you might feel more exhausted than you used to. So don't compare, okay? So much of what you're going to be going through, or what you're going through, it's not about comparing, okay? It's about knowing of what exists, recognizing patterns of if they're there, and from there making decisions based on that. So I don't want you to be like, oh, it was better before and now I'm worse. I mean, you can think that because it's good to know how you're feeling, but for me, it's not something like I want you to be like, oh, I was way better before and I can't get back to what I was before. Because for me, you can never go back, but you can always, always, always go better. And better sometimes is something that you're not even able to comprehend at the moment because you haven't had it. So by trying to always go back to what you had, sometimes you're letting the better escape you because you just want what you had. But to me, wanting what you had is also not fully appreciating, because it shows me and what I believe that if you're always wanting what you had, then you didn't appreciate what you had in that moment to then know that what's to come, you know, etc., etc. So my point being is that I personally do believe in the 3 breaths. I think 3 breaths are the best. I do find that with each breath, you get more sunk into yourself. At the same time, I'm not trying to say that the 3 breaths work for everyone, because it really depends on your intention. For me, what I'm saying is it can be done in 1 breath if you need. It doesn't even need to be a breath if you don't need. But 3, I find, helps put you in a state, especially when you're intentionally saying where it's going to put you. So the first breath, when I inhale, I usually say, breathing in all the love and, you know, light or whatever you want of the universe. And then when I breathe out, I say thank you to everything, but what no longer serves me, you know, let it go. And then also whatever is let go, transform it into gold for, you know, whoever else to experience better, you know, or for whatever they need. So for me, generally, I personally believe that it's all for us to come up with what it is that we intend based on what we're thinking. So a lot of those things I was telling you about, how I breathe in the love, those were my personal intended thoughts. And I can share some with you for sure, but I personally think coming up with your own is the best course, because you are here to live as you, not as me, and vice versa. And personally, I think sometimes while we can be inspired by other people, what we define as the energy is our own, because just because I say intention your definition for intention might have other things connected with it. So for me, with intention, what I have connected with it is just basically my purest soul, unconditional space that cares for the highest good of everyone and everything ever existing, and that my choices that I make are always for the best outcome for all. And that's where my intention basis is. And that's where my definition of intention is. And there's more to it too. But I'm just trying to let you know. So the word intention, while it's one word and has definitions, what I connect to it and when I speak it, it's what that word entails for me and my experience. So for you, whatever intention means for you might totally have a different energetic connection to the word than mine does, and that's up to you what you want it to have. And so that's for every word. That's for words of even meditation. That's for words of even anything, breathing, food, thoughts, love, everything. Okay, so 3 breaths. So for me, I personally do notice a big state, because I believe the first breath in and then out as far as you can go and even more, and then in again. I believe the first breath is actually the first one that kind of gets you into like, okay, we're doing this. The second one I feel like helps actually let the energy more intensely, go and flow. And the third one I feel is when you actually feel the state change, where you literally are in a different state of being. And from there, that's when I believe we connect more to our inner selves, if that's your intention. For some of us, we may not realize that while we're even just doing those 3 breaths, we're already telling ourselves a narrative. This isn't going to work for me. This doesn't normally work for me, blah, 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 blah. And you can either allow that to be your experience or not. Because on one hand, just because we say something, sometimes we don't root it to be. And that's another difference I'll talk to you about too when we're talking about manifestation, law of attraction. But my point is that sometimes we can just say something because it's a habit, but what we root to be could be either the same, which then that'll be our experience, or different, which then we have varying experiences. Or you can change it completely and you have this, So my point is, if you believe that it will work, if you're open to whatever will happen, personally, I always intend for the best results of the outcome of what is best for me and all else existing. But it's up to you what you want to experience, right? Because it's so interesting how much we determine existence and how we experience, because I know people who have allowed themselves to be healed by energy, but because of that, they also allowed a whole other experience because of what they didn't realize in their own mind was allowing. Now, when I say that, it's also based on expectations of what somebody has as to what the experience should be afterwards, instead of flowing with what you're meant to go through to get you to where you need to go. So what I'm trying to say here is, let's say we're in a room with 30 people and we're all wanting to do this intentional healing. Every single person in there is going to have a different experience in their healing, because it's all based on the individual and what needs to be healed. Even if we call in the exact same energy to hit everybody, what everyone's going to go out with is going to be a whole different experience. Some people might feel nothing at all and maybe just a little bit happier, or maybe feel more rested. And some people might have a complete changing of their lives. Like, the spectrum of what we go through is definitely up to yourself, and also what you're meant to live. Soul story, karma, etc., what you're open to, blah, blah, blah. There's so much into it all. All right, so now into the imagination. For me, why I think the imagination is important. So after these 3 breaths, I would definitely sit there. As well, during the 3 breaths, even before the 3 breaths, if you want to come into an intention of what your meditation is. So if you're like, I'm here to heal my pain body, or I'd like to surround myself in golden light, or I'd like to change my life in whatever way, or whatever you are wanting to tell me or teach me, or what can I listen to, where am I going, anything, it's literally anything. It can even be more than one if you want. It's just, when you start, it just gives you a starting point so that you can start listening to yourself on where you want to go. So In the after the breaths, though, for me, the imagination would more be about, especially just for this scenario, okay, about the pain body. I would personally, and I want you to be led to wherever you decide to go. And if you want to try out what I suggest first and then go to where you're led to go, please do so. My point is, one, before doing any of this. One, know that you are always protected, okay? You're protected by the greatest love of all. You are protected by golden light, white light, rose quartz light, whatever light that you feel good in and want to be surrounded in, okay? I personally just always believe that we are protected, okay? And that's up to you, because sometimes even working on that protection is a self-worth kind of thing. Do you believe you deserve this protection? Do you believe you deserve darkness? Do you believe you deserve, and why is it those things? Some of that stuff you're gonna have to work out too. But again, another episode, and I've talked about some of that stuff before, but for this one. So just protection, trust and love and light, you're here for healing, okay? So I personally suggest for this one to imagine all of your cells, all of the tiniest cells within you, all your blood cells, everything that is just vibrating all around your body, literally making up who you are, what you're going through, and the fact that we don't even think about these things normally. For me, I would try to imagine them and feel every single one of them. I would then thank them. Thank them for how hard they have been working, how much they have given you. Gratitude, appreciation, just love. Imagine just hugging every single cell with love, tons of love, and just thanking it for what it does, for working tirelessly, non-stop for you, okay? And also, you can apologize for not checking in sooner. You can also just tell them how much you actually do love them, okay? And thank them for loving you, okay? And just lots of hugs. If you have any cries, let them out. Just whatever feelings wave over you, allow them to just go through them, okay? Just go through all of them. Okay, now for some of you at this point, this part's up to you, because I don't think everyone, you can literally jump to the other step, but for me, for some of you, because this is the first time I'm doing this, you can start actually just listening to what your body wants to say to you. You can even ask, is there anything that I'm neglecting? Is there something you want me to pay attention to? What can I do? And for some people, you might have a flood of things where you don't even know which one to pick up on, but you might have a few. For some, you might not hear anything, and it might just be this one very quiet one that's kind of echoing that you're not fully listening to, but if you decided to pay attention to it, you could hear it. So there's a lot of different experiences in this, okay? It's really more up to what you decide you want to listen to. So some people, all you might hear is a lot of noise, okay? For me, that's up to you to decide on the intention on, do you wish to know more? Do you wish to actually? From there, if you did go through the questioning and allowing the answers, from there, you can do that more other times if you want, for more intentional knowing meditations. For this one that we're talking about, the pain body, for me, from there, if you have some of those thoughts that you're able to get answers to, do any of those pertain to what's happening right now? When you're thinking of any of that stuff, do you have feelings or emotions coming through you or out of you? Do you feel sadness or anger? If you feel like you want to cry, let yourself. If you feel like you need to be this frozen face of like, do it, just allow for whatever needs to come out. So one thing that we are taught in life is we tend to avoid a lot. We tend to be like, oh no, I'm going to suppress that. Oh, I'm boss at this. I can suppress things all over the place. And then all of a sudden, blah! And I don't know where that came from. I have no idea. Oh, you think that maybe it came from all the stuff you were suppressing, that you were telling yourself you're okay with, that you literally were becoming this like warrior person because you're like, oh, that doesn't affect me, when in actuality it does. You just thought that it didn't because you became so good at wearing this face and wearing all this weight on yourself that you didn't even realize how much you're actually carrying and what it feels like to actually be free of all that stuff and to actually be happy. Like we get too good at suppressing things. and too good at thinking that we can just carry on all these problems and stuff and that it doesn't affect you, you know, when in truth, we're all affected. And the reason why we're all affected is because literally chemistry, anything that comes in with another, that's, you're affected, whether it be minuscule or a lot, you're affected. So can't help it. All right. My point is, does any of those thoughts help with what you're going through in telling you what needs to kind of be more, you know, focused on or noticed, or not, no longer, we're not doing that anymore. We're not letting that person talk to us like that anymore. We're not letting this get to us anymore. You know, where has it come to? Are you at the breaking point, boiling point? Is it still just a little bit, maybe something that you thought was little, or maybe a few things that you put to the side, not realizing it builds up to this bigger thing, okay? So let whatever needs to come out, because what the pain body is, and what a lot of the things that we experience not so well, is when we avoided actually experiencing something instead of letting the energy go through us. Okay, so what we did is we took that energy and we put it somewhere. That's why I was asking, where are you feeling things, is because we put it somewhere and we think that that energy just goes away, but in truth it doesn't. That energy actually just keeps building up and building up in ways where it doesn't resonate with your body anymore. It's actually called dissonance. Okay, so what happens there is, because we're energy, some of that energy that we don't like actually gets stored in places, and that's actually what causes dis-ease, okay, disease, or whatever else you want, whatever physical manifestation as what it comes out as, when in truth it's just that those energies weren't lining up and they didn't play well together. Okay, so point being is, you can start noticing where you're feeling some of this stuff. Also, if you just let out those like, ah, or like so angry, or whatever you do, just like, bah, you know, whatever you let out, that as well is letting the energy move. Okay, just that. Even if all you get to today is literally those 3 breaths and then some energy movement, just the littlest bit of energy movement helps a lot. Okay, it helps a lot. All right, now going even further into this. Now, how long can this take you? It literally can take you from anywhere to from 5 minutes at most. You can even be 2 minutes, but 5 minutes to like 3 hours to 8 hours to 10 hours. It's really up to you and how far you want to go. It's literally up to how far you want to go. For myself, I was always seeking to go deeper and know more and have all the answers and all knowledge. And so for me, my roller coaster was quite intense, and it went very, very far. So it's up to you how far you want to go, how intense you want that ride to be. You know, so when I would do this, I would do lots of sessions, and it would literally, my minimum would be 3 hours. A minimum meditation for me was 3 hours for that long while, for years. Okay. And now I literally do like 30-second meditations. I don't even need to, I honestly just am like, boom, in my state, and boom, you know, so like breathing, like I said, it's like learning everything. Everything you do takes time, and then boom, boom, boom. Okay, so from here with imagination, we're going to get into the intention now. So we came through with the meditation, getting you into that state. Now we went through imagination, and we also went through feeling out emotions that need to let go, whatever thoughts as well that need to just, you know, move the energy. Okay, so with intention, especially for this pain body one, to me, my intention would be healing. Okay, so I hope you understand this too, because to have the intention of healing also means that you need to be healed, because there's a difference in intention for having been already healed. Okay, so if you wanted to manifest that you're already healed, you would already be thanking yourself and everything for already having provided you with that healing. Thank you, I am healed. Okay, whereas when you're thanking yourself for healing, okay, that is more in the process of the healing rather than you're done the healing. Okay, so I hope you understand that what we put out there and what we attach to words very much pertains to what we experience. So for this next while, I do believe that a lot of us are all healing. Okay, so while we can say we're healed, I personally believe that there's a journey to this healing that needs to be gone through before we can just be healed, okay? Now, I'm not saying that you can't just be healed. You definitely can, but I hope you know that there's a lot that comes with that, okay? Especially with how deep we're working with things right now. To just jump to the other side, there's so much, and I wouldn't necessarily say that's a fun experience. I would more say that the transitioning into your healed self is a more comfortable, smooth experience, okay? But you get to choose, free will and choice, whatever you want to choose. So just know that, okay? Another thing I hope you know too is once you know something, you can never unknow something. So make sure with your choices that you make that you give it the best of everything you know before making that decision. The reason why I say that is I know a lot of people who want to rush their healing, and they do it from an ego base, and what they don't recognize is then what they end up living is not necessarily the easiest because they didn't take their time in learning a lot of the steps that would have helped them with where they are right now, okay? What I'm trying to say is sometimes awakening to yourself can be a beautiful journey, and sometimes it can be a rude awakening, right? And it's actually up to you how you want to experience it. So, okay, so with intention and in that meditative state, either laying down, sitting up, I would suggest, and it's up to you, what you feel good in, okay? Because it's very much working with what you feel good in. When I first started this, I was very much taught white light, and then I was taught like pink light, which is like the rose quartz light, and you start recognizing how crystals come into this. You know, I also was working with green light and then also golden light. Okay, so golden light was one of the ones that I started working with later in my healing. I didn't do it right away. But with what we're living in right now, I want you to know that it's okay to call upon any of the lights that you want, okay? But gold light definitely is something that kind of hits kind of the whole of everything, whereas like pink light is love, white light's protection. You know, you can also call upon all the lights if you want, rainbow lights, you know, whatever you feel. But I hope you know, and I allow the ones that need the permission, even though you don't, but I say that because I'm someone that had to start giving myself permission, and it helped me when someone else gave me the permission. I didn't like that, but it was something that I had to admit was something that I needed. So when I started empowering myself with giving myself permission and not allowing others to decide those things for me, it very much changed my life as well. And it really much taught me about self-worth and what we believe we deserve, and why there's a lot of choices that while we could make, we don't make based on our self-worth of what we think we deserve. So what I mean by that is unconsciously, subconsciously, sometimes consciously, we don't realize that we tend to punish ourselves. We tend to punish ourselves as humans. And this is one thing that I do have to say that I think is what shows how beautiful humans are, is because we tend to punish ourselves because we feel like we don't meet to somebody's, you know, what we feel that they say that you need to be to even be given love. We have been raised so much in the way that we think that love is conditional rather than recognizing how unconditional love actually is. And that's what I feel like we're all here to learn again, is the true state of true love, which is unconditional, pure love, which means that we are the ones that are judging. We are the ones that are limiting. We are the ones that are creating all of the hardships for ourselves based on our mind frame, right? Okay. So back into what we believe we deserve and the lights that you want to surround yourself by. So I'm going to give you the first quick one that I think should be the easiest, but from there, because everything doesn't always end up being the easiest, what you can do from there. So the first one that I have to say is literally just those 3 breaths and into golden light. And for me, you can either imagine your whole body as gold, or you can imagine the lights coming around you as golden light and you're surrounded by it. Whatever you want. Maybe you're levitating, maybe you're not, maybe you're just laying down and just feeling this beautiful gold light. Is it warm to you? What does it feel like to you? Does it feel good? And if you don't know what light to even ask for, you can just ask yourself, your body, like, what feels good? What is it you're wanting? And, you know, just allow yourself to go through the different things that you're feeling. Like, let yourself embody whatever you're feeling. Like, I want to feel warm. I want to feel a warm hug, or I am feeling a warm hug, you know, or maybe your body's feeling this or that. Maybe you're feeling cooler, you know, whatever you're feeling, just go through it and honor it. I'm sorry, just laughing because always hearing the people saying honor it. But it is true. All right. And so from there, also just listen to, if you want, where you want to be led to. Sometimes by now, you might already be sleeping, and you might wake up 3 hours later and be like, whoa, I don't think I did a meditation because all I did was have the deepest sleep. Well, I just hope you know right there is doing more than you know. Right there is going into the parts of yourself that you've already been suppressing and allowing yourself to free those things, okay? So just know that already with your intention, a lot is happening. So just because you didn't physically run through those marathons of how you can figure this stuff out, I hope you know just with that original intention, it's already happening. Things are moving, okay? And you're going to have more and more and more come to your experience on how this stuff is healing. Because I want you to know that it's not just going to be in this states when you decide, now I'm healing, and it's only going to be that. It's literally going to be throughout your entire life. Sometimes, you know, when you're brushing your teeth and all of a sudden you're just going to start crying, or sometimes when someone like wants to help you with something, you start crying or something. It's just, I'll be honest, there's me a lot of crying, okay? There's lots and lots of crying. There'll also be just lots of possible anger, but if there's anger, please do not harm yourself or anybody else in physical ways. Do not, okay? It is not worth it. Just please know that it's just for this moment and you will get past it. Everything always passes, okay? It just takes time. All right, so from there, you can then go, and like I said, if you skip that whole stage or not, you can come into this one and just basically, now that you're tuned into your molecular structure, just talk to it, you know? Be like, and this is the part where I guess it has to do with some of that self-worth talk, because it is, do you wish to vibrate at your best self? What version of yourself do you wish to be? Now, when I say that, I hope you understand that what I consider versions of ourselves and phases is all the different aspects of ourselves, okay? So when I say version of myself, I wouldn't say the version I am now is the same version of Vanessa that I was, you know, actually just even a couple years ago. Nor is it the same from a decade ago. Nor is that the same one from when I was a teenager. Nor is that the same one from when I was a child, okay? And within the versions, I personally believe there's the phases of life too. So we'll talk about that another time. My point being is, what version of yourself are you wishing to vibrate as? Are you wishing to vibrate as your best self ever, or are you just wanting to be a better version than you were yesterday? Are you wanting to be a better version than you were, you know, a couple years ago? Or do you care not to be as good as you were before? And all those kinds of things. So it's really just asking yourself, what is it that you wish to experience? What do you want to go through? Personally, I think all of us, I don't see why we don't want to vibrate our best selves, but I know a lot of mind frames can keep you from that, depending what you might be thinking about what that version is. So for myself, when I went through all of this, I have always intended to be my best version, but I'm always forgiving of myself when I flow. So when I flow, it means that, like everything, we have our ups and downs. We have our good days, we have our bad days, and it's just going with it all. And at the same time, for me, my best version doesn't mean I'm always, you know, the most positive, best vibrating self. My best self is whatever I can do best for that moment in time. And I actually think that that's some of the most beautiful things. So while we're healing, I tend to be more lenient, because while we're healing, I do think we should all be kinder to everybody, but mostly ourselves while we're going through the healing, because I think that's who and what needs it most. So when you're going through things, start checking in too with how you talk to yourself. Do you talk to yourself very nicely? Do you talk to yourself like how you would love somebody? You know, if you were trying to love the person like that, your significant other or someone that you're wishing to love or anything, how would you love them? And are you loving yourself those ways? Do you talk to yourself those ways? Are you your own best friend? You know, are you mean to yourself? Are you actually quite mean to yourself? If I'm honest with you, some of the nicest people I know are actually the meanest self-talking people to themselves that I have ever heard. They actually aren't very nice to themselves at all. But to them, they believe that they need to be to keep themselves to be that nice. And again, that's mind frame. That's what you believe. I used to believe that a long time ago. But what I realized about myself, and this is the advice I give them too, is I started realizing that who was I as a person? Because was I somebody that the moment I stopped talking to myself like that, am I someone that's going to commit the things I'm afraid of? And the truth was, I wasn't. The truth was, I was already always going to keep those actions up. So why did I need to keep talking to myself as if I wasn't? I literally had been living at least almost 30 years being the best person I could be. Why all of a sudden would I just not, because I don't talk to myself very nicely? And, you know, starting to reveal the illusions in those ways is what started changing things for me too. So I definitely think check in with your self-talk. How are you talking to yourself? Are you like telling yourself you're a moron or stupid, or like how could you do that, and all this kind of stuff, and like you suck and all those kind of things? You know, all of that pertains to a lot of what we're experiencing and what we're going through. So, you know, check in with that too. So again, what is it that you wish to experience? Do you wish to experience, you know, a better life? Are you wishing to be in a better health state? What is that? And allow those energies to start writing your cells. Allow it to start affecting the cells, you know, the ones that are all vibrating all over your body. What state do you want them in? So you get to intently choose how your cells vibrate. How would you like that? And this is the first stage into healing of the pain body that I wanted to talk about. So basically, it is going to be you taking the steering wheel here basically and deciding, you know, where you go, what thoughts you go through. Maybe I don't want to go there, I want to go there more. Okay, maybe I will go there, you know. And you can also, something else I do is I'm like, okay, that's interesting, that's interesting, that's interesting, I'll put that here, but right now I'm going to do with those because that's really pulling at me, you know. And then after that, do I feel like visiting these ones? Or, you know, and I do find that in time we get led to where we're meant to. So just trust your heart of where you wish to go. Listen to yourself. Where do you wish to go? And if you don't know yet, let's try to listen more. Try to listen. Try to listen. So there's two ways to that too. You can keep trying to listen, or you can also just go try one way. And if you try it, listen to yourself then. Did you like it? Is that where you want to keep going, or were you like, no? You know, so every moment, every decision tells us a little bit. So anyways, I hope that helped. Okay, so again, meditation, 3 breaths, coming into that different state of self. Okay, imagination, because personally I think visualization helps, and then the intention of what you want that to do. And from there, how I end it is I honestly just allow it, I thank it, and I let it to, I personally allow it to penetrate my whole being, because I know where I was coming from. I was coming from love. So if you're ever worried, if you're coming from fear, another trick that I have quickly too, which I have talked about before, but I'll just say here, I used to just transform my negative thoughts or fear thoughts into what I actually wish to experience. So from there, I never worried about my fear thoughts or negative thoughts anymore, because I knew that even by thinking them, I have that filter of transforming them already into the love version, positive version of what I want to experience. And what happened from that was those thoughts just stopped, you know, coming as often and started changing to the actual experiences I wanted to have. So for me, I actually felt like I had a wonderful loophole there where I can think all the negative things if I do, and I'm no longer stressed about what they're creating, because I know the moment they go out, they're transforming into the experience of what I actually wish to. So to me, I used to find fear energy was very, very strong, way stronger than my other energies. But because I made that fear energy utilized in the way where it also helps my positive energies, everything coming out of me then is literally just shooting love and positive no matter what. And that was an intentional decision that I had made and based, you know, what those words were going to do. And so that's also up to you to do as well. So I really do hope this helped. Please know how powerful you are in your intentions, okay? And it is basically a spectrum sliding scale of what you're going to experience. It is very much up to you, though, to take the time to make those decisions. It is also up to you how deep it goes. It is also up to you how much is affected based on it, okay? So while sometimes we can't control unconsciously how much we're affected, we can sometimes cast, you know, the intention of what it is we actually wish. So if you wish to be healed, okay, it's very possible. It's just more What are the layers above that? Are you allowing yourself to be? Do you believe you deserve to be? Are you punishing yourself in some ways? Are there things you can let go? What else can you move through? Okay, so while this can be a one-time meditation if you choose, this is actually something that's very helpful as you find your practice within it, and know that you'll be led to new ways as well in time. Okay, so I hope that this helped today. It's definitely longer than I had previously intended, but at the same time I haven't said everything I want yet, so I'll take this as a stage 1 intro into understanding the deeper fundamentals of what goes into a simple practice that is yet simple and can spiral into infinity. Really, you know, everything is possible, even you. So lots of love. Thank you for being here, and thank you for knowing that you deserve whatever it is you believe you're worth. Okay, which I know is everything. It's gold, it's infinity, it's whatever you wish. So just, I hope you choose from love. Okay. Lots and lots of love, you guys.